was really freaked out by the idea of personal brand. Like, the most boring person you know is building their personal brand right now.
So what kind of opportunities have presented themselves since you started being more visible with your brand?
Personal branding is such an interesting space at the moment.
Your personal brand evolves, you become more knowledgeable, you learn different things, you have different perspectives.
People assume that I work in fitness sometimes, but then I don't.
You don't have a business until you can walk away from it for a month.
So I've lived in 35 different cities in the past 10 years.
What's next for what you're doing? Welcome back to the Kelly Lundberg podcast. I'm delighted in this episode. How would you like to build a personal brand with intention, a brilliant personal brand, and one that you still have time for life? In this episode, I'm joined by Jodie Cook, entrepreneur, author, and Forbes columnist. Now, we explore and talk about strategies on how to brand with intention, scale with systems, I love talking about this, and lead yourself without losing your spark. From selling her agency to writing 10-year career, Jodie shares tools to build success on your terms. No hustle, just clarity. It's a must listen if you're ready to step into owning a personal brand with purpose. Welcome to the show, Jodie, and welcome to Dubai.
Yeah, thank you so much.
First
day
and first guest today. Thank you so much. Welcome to the city. I don't think this is your first time to Dubai, though.
I've been here twice before.
Okay.
Once was about 10 years ago for a month.
Oh, wow. So you must look at the city now and go, hang on a minute, 10 years ago and now massively changed.
Yeah, have not explored yet.
Yeah.
Just came here. But after this, I will tell you how it's changed from the last 10 years.
What's on the first thing on your list to do?
I think just be around. When I get to a new city, I quite like looking up, and I quite like meeting locals, although I don't know how many locals are actually here, and then just kind of soaking it all in and then meandering around, looking places up on Google Maps before I go in them to see if other people like them. And then, just exploring.
Because you travel a lot. We were just having a bit of a chat before we got started, and you are very comfortable living out of a suitcase.
Yes, I've been full-time living out of a suitcase for 4 years. Before that, there was 2 years where I was stuck in the UK over COVID.
Yeah.
And before that, for about 5 years, I ran my social media agency that I had at the time as a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
And so I would travel for 1 month in every 3. And that was the last time I came to Dubai.
Wow.
But yeah, just suitcase living is the one. Very minimalist. I hardly own any stuff. And I have a suitcase. My husband has a suitcase. We have a couple of suitcases in my parents' garage.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So what are the benefits to that then? I think I can think of a few, but what are the benefits to you and your lifestyle that it really enhances that? Because you wouldn't keep doing it if it didn't enhance what you do.
I think the world is just so big. There are 200 countries.
Yeah.
And if you think, how many times have you been to the States? And that's just one country. And how many times have you been to Australia? And that's just one country. But there's so many, and everywhere's so different. And I feel like everyone grows up thinking that their country is the center of the world, and they get taught that it's the best place ever, and you wouldn't want to be anything other than American or British or French or whatever. And it's like, it's just not true. It's just propaganda. And once you get out, you realize there are a ton of different ways to live. And I really like exploring and experimenting with all those different ways to live, and then seeing which one I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found anywhere that's full, I want to be here all the time. But that's mainly because I love the sunshine so much that everywhere tends to have its own version of winter. So I just chase the sun around, set up in each new place, and really aim to be a local there. So I travel for either 1 to 3 months to a new place, or 1 to 3 days to a new place, and not really anything but in between.
Okay.
Because I think the middle is kind of messy. Like a 2-week holiday is my idea of hell, because you still have to.
It's funny that. I agree.
Because if you go for over a month, you join a gym, you get a setup, you get an Airbnb, you do get to be like a local. And if you go for about 3 days, you get to go full tourist mode, where everything else goes out the window. You're just a tourist. Yeah. But anything in between, I don't really like. So I try and operate at the extremes with travel.
I've never had anyone explain that to me, but actually that makes perfect sense. As a business owner, I find if I take 2 weeks out on holiday, it's nearly like a month, because there's the build up and then there's the 2 weeks, and like you say, you don't find the gym or you don't find a routine, and I'm ready to go back. Whereas that 1 to 3 days, the long weekend, you can just put everything aside, have fun, explore, and then kind of get back to life and you don't feel like you're out of your routine. So thank you for that. But is that kind of back to one of the things when I was doing the research, and I want you to explain everyone kind of who you are and what it is that you do, but systems and processes, as I was reading and researching, is something that comes up a lot in what you do. And I remember a coach said to me, you don't have a business until you can walk away from it for a month.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? And is that why you find setting up in a new country easier? Because that would be an idea of hell for some people, I imagine.
The first business book I ever read was The E-Myth.
Oh, yeah.
And I was 3 years into running my own social media agency, and I'd created the agency so that I could travel. And I hadn't left the country in 3 years because I'd just created a business that entirely ran. It needed me. The clients all needed me. The team all needed me. I couldn't do anything. Everything was case by case. Everything, I had to answer every question. And when I read that book, it was like, oh my goodness, I can do this. I booked a trip to Australia that was 3 months in the future for 5 weeks. And I gave myself this deadline of I have to systemize my business by this point. I have to follow this book. I have to do everything it tells me so that I can get on the plane and not worry and nothing's going to burn down. And then I systemized the whole thing and created processes, SOPs. I mean, it's really freaking boring work. But once you do it, you reach this stage where you're like, oh my goodness, it does not need me. And then you're just free to do anything. But you know, and this is probably most importantly, it's not like you're leaving your stuff. It's not like you're leaving the work that's really important to you to go off and just play. It's like, no, I know that I can now do bigger and better things because the fundamentals are being taken care of and everything's being done to the high standards that I've got because they're in place. So yeah, it started a while ago.
That's a good book to go back to because I think there's so many business books that we pick up and then we don't forget, but then another bigger one or a better one or one more relevant to you hits the mark. But it's actually a great book to go back and revisit. Can you give us a little of a backstory? Who is Jodie and what is it that you do? Because those are listening now going, right, okay, give us the backstory or watching.
So right now I run Coach Fox and we make AI versions of coaches and they upload their content, their methods, their frameworks, their processes, their strong beliefs, and they create an AI model that coaches and mentors just like they would. And they mainly use it as a lead magnet. So it goes on their website, they collect email addresses, and then they give potential clients a taster of their coaching. I set that up about 2 years ago. The 2 years before that, I was chilling out, figuring out what to do because I just sold my social media agency that I had for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so after I sold my agency, I wrote a book called 10-Year Career to take all the learnings from how to start a business, grow it, systemize it, and then exit and put them all in one kind of nice package.
Yeah.
But it was also because I was waiting for the sale to complete and I was really impatient and I was like, I need to channel this energy somewhere. So then I wrote a book. And then writing's always been a really big part of what I do. So I am a Forbes senior contributor. I've had the column for about 7 years and I write about social media, about AI, about coaches and about entrepreneurship in general.
Yeah.
And then I'm a digital nomad. So I've lived in 35 different cities in the past 10 years or so. And I compete internationally in powerlifting as well. So that's the squat, the bench press and the deadlift. And fitness is a massive part of my life. And I always really like that people assume that I work in fitness sometimes, but then I don't. But
Yeah.
I think it's quite a cool goal to have people believe that you work in fitness because you look so healthy and so happy.
Do people come up to you and go, you're PT or can
Yeah,
all
the time. Sometimes in gyms I get it because often if you're training in a gym and then someone walks in and I'm always like, hi, and they're like, oh, do you work here? It's like, oh no, I'm just a friendly member. And to be honest, I'm not even a member. I just got here. So
I've only been here for 3 days.
Yeah, I know.
I love it. So I think kind of there's so many things I want to talk about in that. I think probably let's start with the personal brand piece into business, because that's the running theme, I guess, in all of our podcasts here. So we talk about all these businesses that you've sold, the book. When did you realize that you had a personal brand, or when did you realize it was different?
I was really freaked out by the idea of personal brand at first.
Yeah.
And it was because I had this belief that if I built my business around my personal brand, I would never be able to sell it. That was like a limiting belief that I was going around with, and I was really going around with it. And my social media agency was called JC Social Media. So it's like, oh no, it's got my name in. I've done this all wrong. It's so terrible. And I think I shied away from it for a while because of that.
Yeah.
And then I think it was through following Gary Vaynerchuk and realizing that even though he's building his stuff, if you're signing up with his agency, You don't expect him to be in the meetings. You don't expect him to be in the calls. You know that he's not personally writing your tweets. So it flipped the thinking to actually, if I do build it a bit or do some stuff to get more kind of known online, then it means that my business is less reliant on me. And then as soon as I realized that, it was like, oh, cool, I can play with this a bit.
What were kind of the first steps into playing with your personal brand, so to speak? What did you do? What did you start doing? Because if you're coming from a space of going, I'm nervous about doing this because I don't want it to be about me, then do you just wake up and go on Instagram? Like, how did it work?
Yeah. And it was so strange to be scared of it because I was running a social media agency. So we were representing other people, but I wasn't really putting myself out there because I was just thinking that it would be the wrong thing to do. So I only properly, I would say, started doing this in the last like 5 years or so. And for me, it's all about running experiments because I think posting online is terrifying because you've got all these people who you think are looking and whispering about you and talking about you. And I got over that by thinking about all of this as just playing a game and separating from what's going on online, the metrics of any given post, and my self-worth.
Yeah.
So the idea that, imagine if you post out something on LinkedIn and 2 people like it and like 20 people see it and you're like, oh no, that's bad. But imagine if those 2 people were in this very room right now, or those 20 people, if they were in this lift.
Or the speaking event with 20 people in front of you.
Yeah,
Still
you would show up for them. You would give them everything. You would talk as if you were so interested in them and so excited to talk to them. And so that's how I think about it. And that's what really helps me separate from, oh, it really matters how something performs. And then I quite like running experiments where you really go extreme with how much you post or how much you show up. So I've just nearly finished a 30-day YouTube challenge. That's just a challenge I kind of set myself, which was make a video every single day for 30 days, send them out, stay scrappy. They're not perfectly edited. They're not perfect. I'm just kind of talking to the camera. But it was just a way of getting over perfectionism, getting over the fear of getting started with it, and just see what happens with no idea that it has to be amazing. It's just, you're just doing it.
And what happened?
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, tell me. I'm like, okay, tell me now. It might inspire me to do a 30-day YouTube challenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're quite advanced with this game. I think it was because I was like, I know I want to start a channel, but all my friends are YouTubers and they've got these amazing setups and they've got these amazing editors, lighting, studios, everything else. So I think I was comparing my day one to everyone else's like day 365 and trying to be too good too soon. So the first, it's great. It's really fun because you do it, and even it doesn't even matter how many people watch your videos. What matters is people watch your videos and then they get in touch, and then you're just speaking to people you maybe haven't spoken to in ages, and you're in their brains, and then they tell you how much they like your videos, they tell you how much they resonate with stuff. And for me, it's a way of testing a lot of the strong beliefs and fundamental beliefs that I have, and attracting other people in who also believe the same stuff. That's the fun side. Yeah. Because you're not trying to reach everyone on the internet. You're trying to reach the people who think like
your vibe is attracting a tribe of people that want to learn from you.
Yeah.
So is YouTube, because I think YouTube's a beast. I have a love-hate relationship that I fall in love with it kind of usually every January, and then I lose a little bit of consistency around March. For someone who's in personal brand, all the other channels, like LinkedIn, I love the consistency's massive, but YouTube just feels a bit of a bigger beast. What's your thoughts in the social media platforms and personal brand building in that?
The thing I quite like about it so far is it feels like your content is less disposable.
Yes.
Because I've been posting on LinkedIn every day for the past year.
Yeah.
And then I've had my Forbes column for maybe 7 years, but only really properly doubled down on that in the past year or so as well. But LinkedIn, you post something out and then it's probably gone within a week.
Yeah.
But YouTube could be forever. And that's the kind of thing that I like a bit more. The idea that in a year's time, my book's a good example of that actually. And I guess yours is too, because there are people who read my book 3 years ago who are only just getting in touch now, who said that they read it again and said, oh, this thing happened. Wow. I read it 3 years ago. Now I've read it again. And this is something I implemented that I can now see the results of. Mm-hmm. And then you get new people reading it all the time. So I feel like a book is the least disposable way of creating anything, but
Yeah.
YouTube's somewhere closer to the book.
A really interesting perspective of the reel, because I think on Instagram, like 1-2 days you're lucky and then it's gone, yet people are so consumed with making sure that their reels are perfect. But I was laughing when you'd said, oh, the longevity of a YouTube video, because I got a message a couple of years ago from someone. Now, my very first YouTube video went out, I want to say, in 2009. So we're talking like 15, 16, 17 years ago. And someone commented in just the last couple of years, call yourself a stylist, don't think much of your blue eyeshadow. And what I think is quite funny is the fact that they're commenting on style that's a video that's 15, 16 years. You can see like this, the whole, everything is dated in it. But the fact that people are still watching it, it's incredible. And you still make money from something that was posted in 2009 or 2010 in that space.
But also, you can reserve the right to change your mind. What you once believed about blue eyeshadow, you might not believe about it now. And we can do this. If a politician changed their mind, it's a U-turn. But we can change our minds, and it's fine. I almost think if you read anything that I wrote before 2021, just assume I don't believe it anymore. Because you just change all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the personal brand. Your personal brand evolves. You become more knowledgeable. You learn different things. You have different perspectives. You have different outlooks. You live in different countries. It all comes with that. So what kind of opportunities have more opportunities presented themselves since you started being more visible with your brand?
Oh my goodness, yes. So much. Yeah, it's
Tell
been
me
really
some of
fun.
them. Yeah.
I have a software business now, and before I had an agency. So growing a software business is crazy different to growing an agency because our product's $99 a month. And so the amount of customers you need to have the same amount of revenue as like when they're kind of paying you thousands for an agency is so different. So it is more about reaching more people. And that's been really fun to have that mindset shift. But I started showing up on LinkedIn about a year ago. And I had 7,000 followers, and now I've got 37,000 followers.
Wow.
And then I started a AI for Coaches newsletter, and that was in October, and now that's got 10,000 followers. And so
this is on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn,
yeah. That's quite insane. The newsletters, people really follow them and connect and subscribe.
Yeah, that's been really good because on LinkedIn, normally you're not reaching people in their inboxes, but when you create a newsletter, every issue goes to people in their inboxes. So it feels like a little bit of a cheat code. And then we put our lead magnets in the newsletter as well. So then people get on our real list.
Yeah.
So I honestly just see it as running little experiments, playing the game. Also, making pirate moves is something I think about quite a lot. So big companies, they have like budgets and marketing quotas, and they have quarterly planning and everything, and they just cannot make the kind of moves that like scrappy entrepreneurs can make. So I love the idea that it's like, okay, LinkedIn newsletters are a thing right now. Get on it, experiment, see, and if it doesn't go well, you can just stop doing it. And it's fine. But what if it does? What if it does go amazing? And then that's what I try and do. Think about the experiments, make pirate moves, and then grow stuff and see what happens along the way. I try to maintain a really good balance between intuitively knowing it's working and also measuring that it's working with data. Because if you go too far down either end, it's not that.
It doesn't always reflect, I think, in the way that you want to. But it's interesting you say you measure the data, because I think a lot of people just post and then hope that their content does well.
Yeah, I get quite extreme with measuring stuff as well. And in my team as well, we are all quite, okay, what does this mean? And that's also really helped me not tie it to me personally. It's like, no, it's data. So we would put, say, all my LinkedIn posts for the past month into like a Claude project and then be like, which ones did the best and why? Deconstruct the anatomy of the best LinkedIn posts so that we can create more like that, and look at these Forbes titles and which ones have performed better and why, and what do we need to do better in the future. And it's like, you post out, see how it does, because no one really knows. Someone could tell you how they think something's going to do, but they don't have a clue. What might have worked really well for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So I just like doing and then seeing how you can keep on improving that in the future, and to the point where you kind of have a formula. But then I think there's also, if people grow their accounts too much, then they just work on the formulas, then it can get really boring. And formulaic, of course, because it's a formula. So then it's finding the next way to be scrappy. So you know how at Google they've got all their team members have 80% of their time on their work, but then 20% of their time is for experimenting and running random, like just seeing and just playing. And that's where things like Google Drive came about, because someone just thought, oh, let's just make this thing for fun. And now it's one of their biggest products.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I think of it like that. It's like 80% is your formula, what you know works, sending stuff out to reach your ICP, sharing your strong beliefs, etc. But then 20% of it, just play, just post out something random on Saturdays. I used to call it Fuck It Fridays, where I just posted whatever and saw how it landed. And then the stuff that did better then became part of the normal content series.
Great tips.
There's lots of systems and processes in all
Love
of this.
it. Love it. Your content, though, is quite varied because you're testing. And I think one thing I get from clients is the reluctance to bring a little bit of personal life into it, or, share something other than, I won this award. But you share, you've got a number of different hats. Tell me about that and why that works for you, and why I think it works for personal branding.
Personal branding is such an interesting space at the moment, and I feel like it's going to have to change, because everyone's trying to do it right now. Like the most boring person is building their personal brand right now. It's not sustainable.
And if they're not, they should be.
And it's not sustainable for everyone to do this. Not everyone can be like a YouTuber or a guru or an author or everything. It's just not going to be the way. So I feel like in the future, there's 3 things that personal brands will need to do. And I feel like one of them is really niche down. So when I ran my agency, it was a social media agency, and we looked after every type of clients. We weren't really niche, and we didn't really focus on a platform. But now it's just AI for coaches, and it's like going more narrow to know exactly who you're speaking to and to know exactly what you're talking to them about. I think the second thing is the practice what you preach angle. So right now, I only share what I've already done or what I know how to do. So I feel almost like I'm talking to a previous version of myself and teaching them how to do things. And it's always like you're handing out like a snakes and ladders board. You're handing out the ladders to the former version of you, and you just keep doing that again and again, which then means that you never have imposter syndrome, because you're only ever teaching what you know. But then the third thing that I really feel like people will need in the future, or everyone will need, is that you almost need to be a kind of demigod. Like the personal brands of the future are going to be demigods, because it's not enough to have a, 7-figure business or an 8-figure business. It's like, no, I also did this while not sacrificing my health, while walking my kids to school, while doing all these other aspirational things. And I think having lots of business success while also having a dad bod, or while also sacrificing your sleep or something else, it's not going to be aspirational. And when we've got hundreds and hundreds, like if not thousands of people who we could follow, there's going to need to be more about someone than just being one-dimensional. So I feel like, because I have a lot of kind of cool stuff going on, I see it all as being just sharing it to show that you kind of can do lots of stuff at the same time. And that it's a really good thing to be able to do. I don't aspire to just have business success and just be miserable or be putting off travel until sometime in the future, because it's now.
I think that aspect number 2 that you'd said, and actually I've got my vision board on my phone, and I put something in the middle of it this year, and it hits exactly on what you've been talking about. Inspires one of my personal brand values. I love it. It wakes me up in the morning to inspire others, but inspire by being proof of transformation. And I think that kind of hits on the nail of the, don't just say that you can do it, show that you're doing it, and others could be inspired by going, wow, you only did that then. And that comes through sharing your storytelling. I mean, I know we've got our common connection, Mark, who introduced us, and he's big into the storytelling aspect. It's a core part of his business. But that, as you say, is there's got to be more to someone than this is my whole life. And I think you talk a lot about that, the anti-hustle culture, and there was the other aspect that you talked about, self-leadership as well. And I was quite curious because I wanted to talk about that. But I think the piece in what you do is there's more to you than just work.
And because personal brand stuff as well, it's never really about you, is it?
That's where people get it wrong, though. I think they think
Yeah.
it is about them, and
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah. I love the idea that if you were doing LinkedIn in 2012 or maybe even YouTube in 2009, and it could be, I'm delighted to announce that I've just completed a marathon. And now it's like, I completed a marathon in sub 3 hours while also doing blah, 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 being a CEO with a busy 9 to 5. Here are the 5 changes I made to help me get there.
Yeah.
And because now it's more like, and this is how you can too, or I did, so it's possible for you, or here are the challenges I overcame, and this is why you can as well. I love that there's that flip to it that's so refreshing, because I've for sure learned from people who they're going through this challenge that I'm also going through, and then you find out their framework and you're like, yes, I'm borrowing some of that. And so I like the idea of handing that out to other people as well.
I think there's so much in what you do and you cover. I'm curious to know, what's one habit that as you travel around the world, build your business, build your brand, what's one thing that's kind of a non-negotiable for you?
Training is totally non-negotiable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever skip a gym session for anything work-wise.
Yeah.
I'd probably skip work things for gym more than I've skipped gym for work.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But that means in practice, whenever I'm looking for somewhere to live, it's always find the gym first and then find the Airbnb that's a very, very close walk.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah, it
Someone
works
who
really
loves
well.
the gym, absolutely. You know what I find quite interesting though, and frustrating, is that in some cities, the gyms don't open as early as you would like them. I'm a 5 a.m.er and would be in the gym for 5:30 because my gym opens at 5:30. What, are you the same, or are you a later?
Yeah, I train once in the morning and once in the afternoon.
Ah, okay.
So my VA gets involved in this. So I'll tell her the city I want to be in.
Yeah.
And then there'll be some gyms that friends have mentioned or other people have kind of brought up before. And then she'll message them and say, hey, what time do you open? Do you do open gym? Because often they're CrossFit gyms and they have classes, but they don't always open the rest of the time. So yeah, it's finding out. And then if not, just join 2 or join 3.
Because that's your non-negotiable.
Yeah, or live in an apartment block that also has one in the building and just open up options, and then you create your routine from all the options available. But yeah, you just have to do research first, which is frustrating because it's just admin, but VA's helpful. I get my VA to do
system. I think that piece that you said, that's your non-negotiable. I was reading recently about the co-founder of Netflix, who his non-negotiable was never skipping a Tuesday date with his wife. And I really love that, because I think too many people do kind of glamorize, oh, I'm too busy. Like I really hate the word busy. I always tell me something else. Just tell me what you're doing. Just don't say to me you're busy. But I love that actually filtered through so many other parts of what he did. It was the mindset, okay, it wasn't just about the dinner with his wife on a Tuesday. It was a huge part of it, but there was so many other things.
Yeah.
And I would probably say your non-negotiable of the gym has filtered into many parts of your business as well.
Yeah, definitely. I have a not to do list. I have an extensive not to do list.
Give me your top 3 not to do's.
I haven't had a TV for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't watch TV. I don't really read the news. I don't really consume a lot of media.
Yeah.
I figured if something's important, then some bad news fairy will tell me about it. And then I don't do late nights. I go to bed at 9.
High five.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so true. So the early nights coming into the early mornings, late. So what's one habit then do you think that's sort of overlooked as we're talking about things to do and things not to do when it comes to long-term business success that you think people don't consider?
There are a million ways to be successful, and there are so many business models you could pick, and there are so many ways to do it. But I feel like there's literally one thing that all successful people agree on, only one thing, and it's just never give up. And it sounds really cheesy and obvious, but everything good in my life has been from just not giving up and carrying on going with anything. So I feel like the most important thing for me is to pick the thing that I'm going to stay with, because I know that I'm so gritty and can just keep going that I'm not going to ever give up. So I don't want to start down the route of the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time thinking about what to do. Like it took me 2 years of thinking, what should my next business be before starting a new business? Because there's a real danger, I think, to tunneling down the wrong route. But then once I pick something, I just stay in it forever. Like when I started lifting weights, it was maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And if you just keep ongoing, you get like whatever percent better each day and each week and each month, and then all of a sudden you compete for your country, and then all of a sudden you're like hitting PBs, and it just keeps happening. And I feel like there's actually a really good book called The Dip. Seth Godin, the idea that you start something, you get those newbie gains, and then you hit this first plateau. And I've seen this in powerlifting, in business, in relationships, in travel, actually, in people being digital nomad and something not going right in the first year, and then being like, oh, it's not for me, I can't do this anymore. But if you just keep going through that bit, then it gets really good after that. So keeping going.
I haven't read that. And that was one of my questions about some books. And we talked about the E-Myth and The Dip. Any other books that you're out there that you go, okay, that's a really good one?
The E-Myth was definitely the one that really changed my game, as well as the 4-Hour Work Week. Reading those at the same time was dangerous, but so good, because that just became my whole life, just systemizing everything so I could travel. I think in the early days of reading business books, I also really liked Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is kind of in the same theme.
Yeah.
And then now, I don't read so many business books now. I more read biographies and autobiographies, because what I'm looking for now is not the system and the framework. I'm looking for people's beliefs, to understand their beliefs. So, if you see someone on stage or a YouTube video with someone, I'm not really that interested in the how. I'm interested in what must they believe in order for them to have achieved that. Because the Elon Musk biography is a really good example of that, because he's just a fascinating character. No matter whether you love him or hate him, he's a fascinating character, and the beliefs that he has explain why he's been able to do what he's done in all these different fields. And one of them is like, there are no laws apart from the laws of physics. And so if you've got that one thing in your head, then of course you can colonize Mars. Of course you can give internet to the whole world. Of course you can do all these random things seemingly unconnected, because if you believe there are no laws, then you're going to act like there are no laws. So there's those beliefs that I like finding out from people, less about the how, more about the fundamental, what do they believe to be true.
So do you consume that on Audible then? If you're only traveling with one bag, you can't really travel with many books around.
I have a Kindle, and I think that my Kindle is probably the thing I would save from a burning building, because it matters, because it's got so much on it. So I spend a lot of time reading.
What's next for what you're doing? I know you'd mentioned sort of YouTube and you're doing your 30 days, but is that a channel that a platform you're going to invest in, or what's next for Jodie?
So I think with YouTube, because it's been a pretty intense 30-day test, I feel like I'm going to do a cooling off period where I'm just not going to think about it for a little bit, and then give myself space to think, what is next and how do I want to do it? I quite like the idea that you test the edges of stuff and then settle on balance. I feel like if I started out looking for balance, I would end up operating so far under my comfort zone, and I just don't want to do that. So it's test the edges, be extreme, run an experiment where you do it every single day, and then stop for a bit and see how you feel, and then figure out what balance looks like after that. So I think I'll do that. I think it ends in a couple of days. And then the main focus at the moment is Coach Fox, is that business, and playing the social media game, playing the personal brand game, running experiments around building that, while also training and traveling.
And living your best life.
I think so.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I have loved it. And I know we could spend a lot more time talking about the gym, which I love. I just want to say thank you so much for coming, sharing your experience of personal branding, giving people that little bit of an insight into who you are, and then they can come and find and learn more from you. What's the best platform for you? Are you LinkedIn? Are you Instagram?
Yeah, good
Are
question.
you YouTube? Who knows? All of them. I think you just put in Jodie Clark and Jodie Clark. That's one of my my clients is called that. Where that came from, Jodie Cook. They will find everything.
Yeah, if you just Google Jodie Cook, you will find me, and then your platform of choice, I'll be there. Find me and say hey.
Brilliant. I wish you a wonderful time in Dubai. Yeah. Before you go, I've got a couple of quick questions. Nearly forgot about those.
Yeah, let's do it.
A time I felt on top of the world was.
A time I felt on top of the world was 2014, when I felt like I was the queen of Birmingham. I just won Birmingham Young Professional of the Year, and I felt like I'd really owned this city that I believed was the center of the universe. And then a few years later, realized it wasn't the center of the universe, and then started to broaden my horizons and go and travel more and expand everything.
I love it. What is your best way to switch off? Or do you switch off?
Close my laptop.
Yeah.
Turn my phone off.
Yeah.
Lie down, put my hands on my heart and just stare into space or shut my eyes and just not think at all, just be for as long as I can.
How long do you get to?
I don't know because I don't look at my phone. I can't time it.
Just when I wake up. What's one thing then you're most looking forward to exploring about Dubai? Or something that you love, or is there somewhere on your list that you're like, I want to go and check that out?
I'm excited to meet the people who live here now.
Yeah.
Because no one's lived here for 10 years. So it's all feels like it's very new. And so excited to meet them and find out about their lives right now and how they live and put it as a potential for a month here in the future.
Very good. Well, I'll be delighted to help you with that. Enjoy the rest of your time here, and thanks for being a guest on the Kelly Lundberg podcast.
Thanks so much, Kelly.